house is quiet at 6:47 a.m. Not silent. Quiet. There's a difference, and he knows it. The coffee maker clicks on before his alarm even goes off because he set it the night before. Because he always sets it the night before. Outside, the sky is still that flat gray blue that hasn't decided what kind of day it wants to be yet. He's already up. He's always already up. He doesn't check his phone first. That's the part people don't understand. He checks the weather through the window. He listens to the house, the furnace kicking on, a floorboard somewhere settling, the neighbor's dog 2 yards over. These are the sounds of a life he built with his own hands, and he knows every single one of them.
By 7:15, he's in the garage, not because anything's broken, but because something might be. He runs his hand along the workbench, tools in their place, everything exactly where he left it. Because chaos, to him, isn't dangerous. It's just disrespectful. Disrespectful to the hours it took to build order out of nothing. Maybe that's you.
Maybe you know this morning by heart because you've lived some version of it for 20, 30 years. The quiet, the self-sufficiency, the way you've stopped needing anyone to validate the rhythm of your life because you built that rhythm yourself, brick by brick, decade by decade, mostly alone.
Here's what's strange, though. If you ask the world to describe a man like this, they'd get it wrong. They'd call him closed off, emotionally unavailable, stuck in his ways. They'd say he doesn't communicate, doesn't open up, doesn't do the work. They'd look at his quiet garage mornings and his empty passenger seat and assume something is missing.
What if nothing is missing at all? What if this man, the Gen X man specifically, built something so rare, so structurally sound, that almost nobody else knows how to construct it anymore? Not because they're incapable, but because the conditions that built him simply don't exist anymore. This is a generation raised by absence. Latchkey kids with keys around their necks before they could tie their shoes properly. Kids who came home to empty houses and figured out, alone, what to do with the silence. Nobody was coming to entertain them. Nobody was coming to regulate their emotions for them. Nobody was coming, period. So they learned to come through for themselves. And that single fact, repeated across millions of households in the 1970s and 80s, quietly built an entire generation of men with a psychological toolkit that didn't exist before them. And, this is the uncomfortable truth, won't exist after them either. This video is about 10 things Gen X men carry that no other generation can build. From scratch. Not from money, not from therapy, not from self-help books. Things that had to be earned the hard way, in empty houses, in silence, in decades of being underestimated.
He knows exactly what that feels like, being misread his whole life. Let's talk about why.
Let's give this man a name. Not a label, not a stereotype, but a shape we can recognize. Call him the self-built man. He's not a character from a movie. You've met him. He might be your father. He might be your neighbor who's fixed his own roof for 15 years. He might be you, looking back at your own life from the outside for the first time.
The self-built man doesn't announce his competence. He doesn't need to. He's the guy who quietly knows how to bleed a radiator, rotate his own tires, rewire a lamp, patch drywall, and file his own taxes. Not because he loves any of those tasks, but because at some point, though it can look like it from a distance, neglect leaves a wound. Earned self-reliance leaves a callus. And calluses, if you've ever actually had one, don't hurt. They protect. There's a concept called internal locus of control. The belief that your outcomes depend primarily on your own actions, not on luck, other people, or fate. Men who grew up managing themselves from a young age tend to score high on this trait, and it shows up immediately. Men like this often measure trust not by what someone says, but by what they do when no one's watching.
They don't perform reliability. They just are reliable, quietly in 1,000 small, unnoticed ways. The kind that never make it into a highlight reel, but hold entire families together for decades.
You've probably seen this in your own life. The man who never posts about his marriage, but has been faithfully present for 30 years. The father who never says, "I love you" out loud, but has never once missed picking his kid up from practice. The friend who doesn't check in with a text every day, but the moment you actually need him, he's already in his truck.
Picture a kid in 1979, both parents working, maybe a single parent working 2 jobs, no cell phones, no check-in apps, no GPS trackers quietly reassuring anyone that the kid is safe. Just a key on a string, a door that locks behind him, and hours of unsupervised time between the final school bell and a parent walking through the door well after dark.
He learns to make his own snack, entertain his own mind, settle his own boredom, solve his own small problems, a jammed bike chain, a broken toy, a fight with a friend, without an adult stepping in to smooth it over. Nobody was coaching him through his feelings.
Nobody was narrating his emotional experience back to him in gentle, validating language. He was just alone with it, repeatedly, for years.
If this is the man you grew up watching, or the man you've quietly become, there's more of this story to tell. Subscribe, and you won't miss the next one. And if this gave you something to think about, tap like. It tells us we're getting this right.